So these are the days that I dread working a 9 to 5 job. I had to. It's now 6:30 o'clock. I've been at the office from 8, so I left my house like at 7:20. Got here or 7:20 or 7:30. Got here at around 8, and I've been there till right now 6:30. And yeah, I dread them because I'm only getting paid for 8 hours, yet I've been there like 10 hours. So when things like this happen, it's not fun. But enough complaining. I just wanted to give you an update on the company. So I can't even think. I'm like so tired. Been looking at a computer screen all day. Actually, you know what? I'll talk a little bit about that. So the reason why I don't like it is because I'm putting in hours. I'm getting paid a defined amount of money for an undefined amount of time. Meaning I'm getting paid for 8 hours, but in today's case, I was there for 10 hours, right? And the thing that kind of sucks about that is that I'm putting in a lot of like mental work where I'm just thinking about things. And I'm working actually right now on an RFP, a request for proposals, which is basically one of the most boring things I've done in the field of architecture to this day. And it's when you're in contact with other firms of engineers and specialists of any sort, landscape architects, whatever, and you basically form a team to go after a project. But it's kind of like a competition because a company will send out an RFP, a request for proposals, which means that they want a bunch of firms to send in their qualifications. In other words, putting a team together, and then see, it already sounds boring explaining it. Putting a team together and saying why we are qualified as a team to get this job, and then you're competing against other firms, and then they'll select like 3 or 4 out of those people to do a presentation. And yeah, that's what I've been working on. This is my third one in the last 2 weeks, and I've been just putting in a lot of time into these things. And so what sucks about this, it's not even that, because here's the thing. If you own your own company and you're doing these things, you know that, yeah, you might be spending 80 hours a week doing this, but at the end of the day, if you get that job, you're going to get paid handsomely for it. So like, if I was doing this RFP, right, and the deal was, and I know this can't happen because when you own a business, there's certain rules that you make and you have to follow for whatever reason. But if the deal was that, hey, you're working on this RFP, you're getting paid a salary, of course, but if we get this RFP, for the time in that you're dedicating, you're going to get a little cut from that, right? That would be awesome, because then that basically, it's almost like getting a little commission. So I wouldn't feel so bad putting in these hours. And if I don't win, well, whatever, we tried, but there's no harm done because we tried, and the potential to get extra was there. But it really bothers me that like, I've always hated getting paid hourly and salary because you're getting paid for your time. That kind of sucks. I'd rather get paid for like a service, what is that, passive income. But I'm not even speaking clearly. My thoughts are really all over the place right now. So now that I said that, and I said that because I kind of wanted to give a little bit of background as to what's going on. But so back to the office. I always have a hard time remembering what I said in my last video, so I might be repeating some information. But recently what's been going on is that yesterday I had the idea of Googling, because I've been looking for manufacturers here in the US where I could probably fly to and get this watch design made once I have it. And yesterday I spent a few hours designing the hands and the crown. And the idea is that I think I'm going to have just one single crown design, and I'm going to replicate that over to every single watch. And the reason I would like to do that is because it'll become part of the brand. If you buy one of my watches, you're going to expect to receive that crown, so it's part of building that brand. And at the same time, it just simplifies everything. I feel like the crown is one of the parts that, to me, is really important, but at the same time, it's not important at all because it's just there. You don't really look at it. So I've seen a lot of watch companies, they'll usually use a different type of crown on different watches, and I kind of want to have one single crown so it can help build that brand, and at the same time it just makes the process easier because I can just manufacture in mass all these crowns, and I'll always have them for a watch. I don't know if that can be done. I don't know if there's a reason why companies don't do that, but we'll see. So I got a lot of that stuff done and out of the way yesterday, so that was pretty cool. I had fun doing that. And then when I was getting out of work, I thought, I can't find any manufacturer of watches in the US. I'm sure they exist. I'm just not having luck finding them. So I thought, well, what do you need to make a watch? Like, what kind of machines do they use? I'm sure they use the CNC. And I have a little bit of experience with CNC machines back when I was in school. I never used one for any of my projects, but I was in teams that where people did use that as part of our presentation, and we had one at school, and I never saw it mill any metal. They would always use it for foam or wood, but of course I know that they're used in metal work. So I googled a couple companies, but by the time I got out of work they were already closed, so I had to wait till today. Then today in the morning I called the one that I really wanted to get in contact with, and they didn't answer. I called them a couple times at 7 in the morning. It said they were open, but they weren't answering. So I called another company, and they didn't have any reviews. But at this stage, I really don't care about that. And it was, turns out it was a small business where it was two people. I think it was a guy and his brother that run this. And they have a couple mills, and they said they were backed up 8 weeks, but the guy was really nice. The guy's name is Jim, and I'm putting that as saying that here for reference for myself in case I ever watch this again. But the guy was really nice. He kind of talked me through the process a little bit. I mean, I'm really at the beginning stages, so I basically told him, hey, I have a few designs for watches. I'm just trying to figure out the process of how to get these things done. I don't really know how mill works exactly, so I don't know all the potentials it has and all the drawbacks. So that's very important when it comes to designing things, because one thing is designing, but one thing is getting it built. When you're just designing, you can design whatever you want. But when you want to build this thing, you have to understand how these things are going to be put together. So something that's really interesting is that watches tend to be waterproof. If they're not waterproof, then why would you buy one? I personally usually don't ever buy a watch that's not waterproof, even though I don't expose my watches to water because I don't want them to get wet at all. But I think it's an important aspect for a watch to have, so it's something that I want in mind. And when I thought about that, that kind of complicated things a little bit, because if I go with a China manufacturer, assuming they do it right, they manufacture my watch right, that's something that they take care of. You get me? Because that's what they do all day. They make watches. But this guy, he's just a general business, so I'm basically going to have to work with him and figure this thing out. Not really. I'm going to have to figure out the whole waterproof thing and kind of talk to him about it and see what the limitations of the CNC machine are, so we can kind of get to a middle ground, if that makes sense. So I contacted him. He wanted me to send him some of the files, and he told me wireframe models would be fine in the form of a PDF or JPEG. So I'll probably put a little book together, something very, very simple, just a file of a compilation of different images from the watch that I'm designing. And I think it's going to help that it's a modern, simple looking watch, because the more complex the design is, the longer it's going to take to mill, and the more pieces there are. So really, time is money when it comes to all this stuff. So the longer it's sitting there being milled, the more expensive it's going to be. So that's something I'm trying to avoid. I don't know how much it's going to cost me. I'm kind of afraid to find out, but something I didn't ask him is if he's going to provide the material, right? I assume he won't, but I also assume that he knows where I can get the material for a good price. That's another thing. Since I'm starting this business, one of these Chinese companies reached out back to me, and they told me that minimum order quantity was 1,000 pieces at $13 each. So if we step back for just a second, $13 for a watch, that's amazing, because I could sell it at $90 or $100, and I'm making back so much money from it. You know, it's a lot of profit. Well, of course, there's going to be shipping costs, return costs, packaging, all that stuff. But let's say I get a watch at $15, right? Plus shipping, let's say another $5 per watch, I'm at $20. Then on top of that, I'm going to buy packages, tags, you know, all that stuff. I'm basically up to like $25 to $30 per watch, right? So that means that if I sell that at $100, I'm making $70 profit. Okay, so that's almost double. I mean, it's more than double than what I paid for it, which is great. I'd be happy with that. But now let's get back to the problem here. Hold on, because this guy's trying to cut me off. Even though that's a great price, that means that I'm gonna have to spend $13,000 of capital. $13,000 of capital to get this watch or this batch of watches made. And it sucks having 1,000 of them, because see, if I was a big company and I know that people are buying my watches, then I wouldn't mind doing that. $13,000, I'll take out a loan or something, and I'll figure out how to sell them. But I'm new to this, so I don't want to jump in so deep yet. And especially, that means I'm gonna have 1,000 of one design. What if that design is a complete miss, right? So I don't know how it's gonna work with this guy. I'll be honest with you. If I can get 100 pieces made for, let's say, $20 or $30 total from this guy, or a CNC mill here in Miami or anywhere in the US, I'd be happy. That's gonna be $3,000, but you know, I basically paid $30 per, and then that bumps it up to $50 or $60. But let me tell you why that's a real good thing, because if that's the case, then I'm gonna buy everything separately, and I'm gonna make the watch myself. So I'm gonna buy the movement separately. I'm gonna basically pick a movement that I want, which today on eBay I bought a set of 2 movements that I want to try out. They're Mayotas. They're Japanese quartz movements, which are, you know, they're okay. They're not bad. People hate quartz for some reason. I guess because it's not mechanical, but I don't know. I don't really care. I don't think that's not really what I'm going for with this brand. I'm not trying to make a watch that's gonna be the next Omega or Movado. Not yet. I'm still learning, so I'd be happy to just have a product, even if it's a quartz movement. But yeah, so I ordered those. Those are gonna help me when I'm designing, you know, figure out how it's gonna fit into place and whatnot. And that's where I'm at now. So I just got home. It's almost 7 o'clock. I'm gonna throw together this little booklet. Probably not today. I'm dead. Gonna go out to eat now with my girlfriend and my friend Alex. And tomorrow I'll keep designing, and I'll put something together. I'll send it over. He's probably closed on the weekends, but since he's a small business, maybe he has access to his email all the time, so maybe he'll reach out to me, or I'll try reaching out. We'll see what happens. And I'll give an update on my next video, but I think that's all I wanted to say. So yeah.